Thank you, Sean, for the introduction, and thank you all for being here today. This December, when I was visiting my parents for Christmas, my mother and I went through piles and piles of old family photographs. She pointed out to me who was in each photo and where and when it was taken. I love this activity because learning about the photos allows me to attach stories to distant relatives as well as to my own parents, as I am continuously piecing together a family history that connects southern Maine to southern California. On the growing pile of photos on my lap, my mother placed one of herself. It was black and white, and she was around my age. Her shadow stretched out from her, and she's looking up to face the camera. She told me my dad had climbed an abandoned windmill to take the photo. She's wearing a denim jacket, and under the jacket, she's wearing a wool cable knit sweater. And I knew it was blue because it was the same jacket I was wearing, the same sweater I was wearing in the moment I was looking at the photograph. At that moment, something amazing happened. My 21-year-old mother and I inhabited the same space and time. We were both the same age, and we were both wearing the same sweater, hoping to ward off any cold that might come our way. This moment lasted only a second, and my current-day mother placed a new photo over her younger self. When I began my senior project in earnest this fall, I began collecting these moments, the times when I felt that a certain piece of clothing was not only a garment to cover me, but a vessel for stories and memories. A huge influence for my work at the beginning of my project was French artist Louise Bourgeois, who I explored this fall in a course called Contemporary Artists as Researcher and Activist, taught by Catherine Klinger. I was interested in Bourgeois' fabric works, which she had created near the end of her life, and was specifically intrigued by her fabric books, one of which is pictured here. Now, I was drawn to these books because they combine a few of my favorite things: books, obviously, stories, clothing, and sewing and embroidery. In her fabric books, Bourgeois used her own clothing and items from her trousseau to create the pages. She took apart her clothing at the seams and reconstructed them in this new form in order to explore her past and the various traumas and anxieties of her childhood. I found her books to be incredibly powerful art objects, specifically because they used her own clothing. Our clothes are very intimate objects. We wear them every day, and they are our second chosen skin. We use them to protect ourselves against the elements as well as to communicate about ourselves to the world. Because of this, so we communicate about ourselves to the world, but we also, over time, because we wear them every day, they become physical embodiments of the time we spend in them. Because of this, So anyway, I wanted to explore my personal relationship to the making, wearing, and mending of clothing, as well as to incorporate the use of clothing as storytelling devices. So I'll now show you the 4 pieces of my senior project show, Make, Wear, Mend. This first piece is entitled Textiles and consists of 3 drawings, each 18 by 24 inches. The title is also a play on the words text and textile, text being repeating lines of words on a page, textile being woven on a loom out of repeating lines of thread. I chose 3 articles of clothing from my wardrobe and represented them using handwritten text. Stories of times I'd worn the clothing, detailing the histories of each piece, as well as the places I had mended them over time. Next, I created, without a trace, 3 small embroidered pieces that each describe a piece of clothing that has disappeared from my life. The knowledge that I will never wear these clothes again is haunting to me, because I can no longer access the memories associated with each garment. This piece was an attempt to preserve the stories of each garment using embroidery, which for me has always been a meditative art. So after I looked at my personal relationship to clothing and cloth, I decided to look outward and engage my friends and acquaintances in 2 photography projects. This first piece is entitled Sewing Baskets and consists of 12 images that I took of my friends showing me their sewing boxes. I loved seeing the diversity of the vessels used to house my friends' tools for making and mending. For example, one of the boxes used to belong to a friend's grandmother and was still full of many of the sewing notions and materials that her grandmother had used, while another consisted simply of a spool of dental floss and a few needles stashed away in a wooden needle case. So the final piece that I'll show you today is called Intergenerational Portraits, which is made up of 12 Polaroid photographs of friends and acquaintances wearing hand-me-downs from older family members. The name came from the idea that there's more than one person being represented in each photo, as the clothes worn suggest the presence of the previous owner. My senior project show is over, but my investigation into the processes of making, wearing, and mending is still very much alive, and I plan to explore them further in my personal art practice after leaving COA. After graduation tomorrow, I'll be spending the summer in southern New York, where I'll be working at a kids' nature camp, teaching students about art and the outdoors. Thank you.